Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Well, I just wanted to start off by saying I apologize for not making a video here in a couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I hurt my back and finally to a point where I can hopefully get out here and maybe get something done. So, well, we'll go ahead and get set up and I'll show you what we got going on for today. All right, guys. Well, if you remember the end of my last video, I said I had something special for the car. Well, here it is. This is a Chrome Molly 8-point roll cage from S&W Race Cars. Now, I know S&W is no longer in business, but I picked this off of Facebook Marketplace, and I got a really good deal for it, and I couldn't pass it up. Now, this one is meant for a 64 through 66 Chrysler A-body. That'd be the Valiant and such. But we took some measurements before I got it from the guy, and I think it's going to be okay. So it'll fit just fine. And it comes with everything you need. It has your main hoop. It has your bars that run down to the drive shaft tunnel. It has your bars that run to the trunk, and it also has your door bars. Plus, it also has your support for your harnesses. So we're going to go ahead and first thing we got to do is we got to pull the seats out of the car because where this has to go, the seats are in the way. So let's go ahead and get set up and see what we can do there. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do is get the seats out of the car. Now they're just held in with 4 nuts and bolts that I put into. I made some brackets and went ahead and welded the brackets to the floor and bolted everything together. So like I said, they are in the way. We need to get them out of the car. So I'm going to go ahead and grab some tools and go ahead and get them out. All right, so there we go. So we got the passenger side out. And there are the brackets that I made for the seat to mount to. All right, we'll go ahead and get the driver's side out next. Okay, so there we go. We got both the seats out. And now the next thing we're going to do is we got to measure for the main hoop. So we're going to measure from the floor to the roof. And we're going to take a little bit out. This way we can make sure we get the welder all the way around and everything like that. Again, this isn't going to be any type of spec class or certified cage. It's just going to be it's just going to look cool. A cage inside of a car always looks pretty cool. So all right, let me go ahead and get set up and see what we can do. Okay, so another thing that S&W gives you are these 1/8 inch plates. And what you do is if you're not running a full frame car or you don't want to weld it to the frame, you can weld these to the floor and then you weld the cage to these plates. So that's what we're going to do. So now we got to measure from the roof down to this plate. So we'll go ahead and get you guys set up here and see what we can find here. Putting in the belt there, puts us at about say to the top of the plate is about 42.5 inches from the roof down to that plate. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I want to take a couple inches out of that. Like I said, so this way we can get a welder all the way around it all. So go ahead and cut down that bar and see if it fits. Okay, so we got the main hoop on the floor, and we take a measurement from the top of that cage down to where it would attach, down here at the bottom. Call this the floor. Looking at like 45 inches. So that gives us what? Probably about 2.5 inches that we need to cut off to make it so this way it would touch the roof. Well, like I said, we want to probably take a couple inches down. And I think what we'll do is maybe take that to 40, maybe 40.5, maybe 41. So we may start at like 41 and go from there. So in this way we can just creep up to it if we need to. All right, let's get set up and see what we can do. Okay, so I went back and just did a little more measuring because I just wanted to be sure before I start cutting. The floor on the driver's side, that's not touched. That is factory floor right there. Now from the floor, from that plate to the roof is 42 inches. I remeasured it, it's 42 inches. Measured it actually a couple times. This floor here, the passenger side floor, all I did is I just made a patch and I patched it back in. And now that patch is in the exact spot is where the old one was, because all I did is I cut where the spot welds were. I drilled out all the old spot welds and just welded it back in and pieced it back in. So that sitting should be at factory height. Now, with that being said, I don't know if it must be something from the factory that the passenger side floor sits a little lower than the driver's side. Why? I don't know. Now, could it still have been me? Yeah, still could have been me, but needless to say, it's about an inch and a half difference between the driver's side and the passenger side. So we're going to compensate for that on the main hoop, and we'll go ahead and get it cut. See what we can do. Okay, so there we go. It's in there. It's just held in with a couple of magnets, and have it centered as best as I can. For right now, we'll go back and make sure it's all centered. I do like how it sits to the roof. It's tucked up there, but it's not up so high that we couldn't get a welder in there. So I think we'll be okay with that. And we got plenty of room to get a welder around it here. So we should be fine there. But I think the next one we're gonna do is go ahead and clean all the edges up. We'll bevel the edges and we'll go ahead and clean up these plates, clean up the floors a little bit, make sure they're all nice, have nice clean sheet metal, and maybe we'll go ahead and just throw a couple of quick tacks in. All right, let's get set up and see what we can do. Okay, so I went ahead and cleaned up the floor, cleaned up the plates, and just gave a couple of quick tacks in each corner there, just so we could, just so I can go ahead and get the main hoop set in place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and clean up the edges of the main hoop, bevel the edges now. Just won't have to do it later on, and go ahead and put that in. We'll tack it in, but I think first I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, grab some lunch, and then we'll get back at it. All right, we'll see you in a little bit. All right, so there we go. So we got the main hoop is just tacked in place for right now. And there's the passenger side, so it is just tacked in for right now. And next up, I think what we're going to do is we're going to put the seats back in it. This way we can get an idea about where the door bars are going to go. So let's go ahead and get a seat back in it. All right, so there we go. So there's a seat in there. The only thing is I noticed is that it looks like the seat's over just a little too far. So we're going to have to shift the seat over. That's not a problem. We can go ahead and do that. But I think that's where we're going to end it for today. All right, guys. Well, looks like we made some good progress today. We started getting the roll cage put in the car. It's tacked in, starting getting it tacked in place, and that's a good thing. That's going to stiffen this car up. Now, we are, of course, going to put subframe connectors on here, too. Help stiffen it even more for it on the street. But, all right, guys. Well, you know what? Thank you for hanging out here at Old School's Garage. Please share, like, and subscribe to the videos and to my channels, and also on all my other social media outlets. All right, guys. Well, until next time, I'm out of here. Later.